Hello everyone. In this video I'll be going over some tips and general advice to help you be successful in any stunt run for Burnout Paradise. There are going to be four main things to consider when trying to maintain a long run. First being your selected car and boost type, the next being your familiarity with the map and where all the hotspots are for multipliers. Third is the length of time that you're willing to commit for the run. It is an endurance test for some of these longer ones. The last one is just plain luck. At the end of the day, during a good run, luck will be in your favor. First, let's talk about the car. You're going to want a car that you're comfortable with, handles well, and is a speed boost class. At first, speed boost class seems a little counterintuitive since the stunt class was designed for these events. The most important thing though that a speed class has over the boost class is its longevity. After the timer runs out for the stunt run, you're going to want to maintain that combo using burnouts. While maintaining boost, the timer doesn't tick down, and with each burnout you get more points added to your total. This is important in order to hit those really big scores. You'll also want to make sure that the car you choose has good handling as well. Being able to accurately control a drift can make or break a good run, and it'll help a ton when trying to maintain constant burnouts across the city. I recommend doing a lot of practice runs and suggest starting off with something lower speed but still versatile, such as the Rossellini LM Classic or the Rossellini Tempesta. The Tempesta can be difficult to handle at times, so the Montgomery GT 2400 might also be a good alternative as well. The Carbon Hawker is an example of something higher speed that you can use as you start to get better with each run. It provides great handling and is a bit higher strength as well versus some of the other speed boost classes. Moving on to map familiarity, you're going to need a good grasp on locations around the map to stack up multipliers. Seen here, the outermost areas of the map are loaded with quite a few billboards, super jumps, and provide some airtime opportunities for extra multipliers. When I start any run, I'll typically always try to at least do one loop around the map first to grab as many multipliers as possible. Once you've stacked up as many multipliers as you can from the outer loop, you can start venturing off elsewhere. You can either go inwards towards the city to try and grab some more billboards or super jumps, or you can start to make your way to an area that you're comfortable with to try and stack up as many burnouts as possible. Remember, with each burnout, you get added points to your total. The last two, endurance and luck, are a little more ambiguous than the first. For endurance, you're going to want to make sure that you can dedicate some time to the run. If you're trying to beat records, you need to be committed. It takes a lot longer than you might think as well. My longest run was well over an hour, and by the end, my throttle finger was killing me. Luck is also something that you can't really control, but important to keep in mind when you're going to go for records. Sometimes you can do everything right, but luck isn't in your favor. My advice to this, just keep trying. You'll get better over time, and you'll start to begin to understand where a lot of the risk is along the map and be able to plan accordingly. I'll do a stunt run here with my vehicle of choice, the Revenge Racer. I like this one since I'm very familiar with how it handles, and I've had a lot of success with this in the past. The first thing I want to note on here is to not be rushed to try and immediately get multipliers or start boosting. Take your time and try and really methodically come out with a plan as to what you want to do. Like I mentioned earlier, one of my go-tos is typically always going to be going around the map first. I'll usually start right around here if I'm going in this direction around the city, so I like to start with that billboard, and I kind of start to plan out where I'm going to be going from here. So there's going to be another billboard coming up right here on the right hand side. After this is when I'll start kind of thinking about potentially laying on the boost a little bit. If I get closer to the time limit, I will just press the boost button once. There's no real need to lay on the boost right at the beginning because the intention of having this is towards the end of the run when you're trying to keep up after the ticker goes down. So towards the beginning, I'm usually never going to be just hard on the boost. I'll hit it if I absolutely need to, but outside of that, I'm trying not to use it as much as possible. So we see here that I already have a pretty good chain going along this stretch over here. Along the bridge, there's a few super jumps, a few billboards, and then on the right hand side again, heading towards the city, There's going to be some airtime opportunities as well as some other billboards and super jumps. This area, in my opinion, is pretty important to hit just because of the sheer volume of items that are over here. Right here is also where I start to run out of time, so I'm going to be laying on the boost from here forward as much as I can, so that way I can maintain the run. And I'll just keep continuing to try to get boost, whether that's doing oncoming driving or drifting. Upcoming right here was a little bit of a riskier billboard. I am pretty comfortable with this one, which is why I tried, but you can see it was a little risky, some traffic, some barriers I almost hit. But overall, you got to take some risks if you're going to be hitting those records. Coming up right here, I almost ran out of time because I didn't have boost, but luckily I was able to get it back with a quick drift and near miss. This is so important to have a good handling car. From this previous run, I wasn't able to drift well, I lost control, and I actually hit an oncoming car. So this is why I stress so much why drifting and control is so important for a stunt run. Back to the other run here. Luckily I was able to regain control. I got a few more billboards in the middle of the city, and then I went towards this next super jump and a billboard here near the beach. Can see here I grabbed this billboard, but I'm keeping a mental note of that super jump right there because I can potentially come back and do another loop, grab another multiplier if I choose to. Heading up now towards the train tracks, I'll usually always try and opt to go on the train tracks versus staying on that main road there. Only because it's easy to get a quick drift in like right there to maintain a boost. And then also further down the line, there's quite a few billboards and super jumps that'll add to my multipliers. This section I would definitely consider a critical area for any long-lasting or high multiplier run, just due to the amount of opportunities along this stretch. It's easy to get off from this direction as well, and you can easily get back on the main road that you're comfortable with in order to keep the boost up. And we can see here that I'm starting to come up on doing that full loop. I'm going to be starting to come back around to the area that I started in. Right here I actually messed up a flat spin, but luckily I was able to recover, didn't crash. This happens pretty frequently. Just make sure that you get back onto a main road somewhere as quickly as you can to start boosting up, otherwise that timer is going to go pretty quickly. I'm actually not going for any of the jumps or billboards right here. That's because for any one stunt run, you actually can't redo multipliers, so it's really not even worth the risk of trying to do it again. I come into the city over here. This is an area I'm not super familiar with, at least for stunt runs. I know there's a handful of billboards, some air opportunities to get, but for the most part, what you'll be seeing coming up is the reason why I try to not stick to the city streets for a stunt run. And that's because I did end up getting greedy on this super jump coming up on the left side right here. I'm not quite sure why I went for this. Usually, again, that's why I try to stick off the city streets, is because I'll make decisions like this that aren't usually the best. I know something is coming up, but I'm going too fast to really do it accurately or cleanly. So this was the end of my run right here. Still not too bad, 5.6 million, which is well over what the goal was, but still by far not my highest run. If I had stuck to something I was more familiar with, into an area like the freeway, or just keep doing loops around the city, trying to pick up some of those straggler multipliers, I probably would have had a lot longer of a run. Still though, not a terrible run. I learned from each and every stunt run that I do, learn what not to do for the future, kind of what I'm most familiar with, but it's also important to kind of branch out and do things that you're not super comfortable with, and it's just so that way you can keep continuing to practice and get better. Hopefully on the next stunt run I won't mess that jump up, but it'll take some practice for sure. If you made it this far, thank you for taking the time to watch. Throw a like and leave a comment if you have anything to add. I'm sure there's still a lot of general advice that can be added on top of these tips and commentary here. Safe driving, everyone.